Will Manso is with us on the Toyota of Hollywood hotline, sports director at Local 10 here in Miami. Of course, he's part of the Miami Heat broadcasts on FanDuel Sports Network Sun, although it'll be a while before we get to see one of those again. So I was saying earlier in the show, Will, I loved your tweet this morning where you said it's Photoshop season and you're imagining all these, Giannis in a Miami Heat uni. And I'm sure all across the country, every fan base going to have Giannis in their home team's uniform. Would you give anything and everything to get Giannis?
First of all, by the way, I was corrected this morning. It's AI season now. It's no longer Photoshop because now everything's
That's
AI.
right.
So I was showing my age. It's AI season. And two is, I think if Giannis is available, I think every NBA team is going to say, I'll give whatever it takes to get him. And I don't think the Heat should be any different. And you're talking about a guy who's still at his peak. Whoever gets Giannis, if Giannis does leave Milwaukee, is getting a guy who's at the age that Jimmy Butler was when he arrived in Miami. And we saw what Jimmy did in his 5-year window in Miami. So I don't think any team would be hesitant to give up anything to get a guy like that if he's truly available.
And Will, and this will be on Pat, and that's now with the Giannis stuff. Now it's back on Pat. Pat, make it happen. We talked about it a couple weeks ago. Is Pat being evaluated in any way, or is Pat there can't be a hot seat for Pat Riley? Pat can do whatever he wants as long as he wants. There's no evaluation process for Pat, right?
I mean, he pretty much said that the other day when he talked about what the Harrison said to him at the end of the season was just have at it. Just go ahead. Keep doing your thing. I mean, they have full faith in Pat Riley, and I don't see why they shouldn't. 30 years in the organization, 7 finals, 3 championships, the second winningest franchise in the NBA since he got here. I think that kind of credibility and resume is untouchable. I mean, I don't think there's any, it's certainly not from the Heat organization, the way they are so tightly put together with their core, the front office, the main guys. So to answer your question, yeah, I think Pat has an open window to do what he wants to do, how he wants to do it, with the backing of the Harrisons, as long as, again, it falls in the line with the finances and the long-term plan. But they all align, Channing, in the way they're thinking moving forward.
Will, Pat didn't seem to feel like the last 2 games of the season were indicative of who the team is and who Tyler and Bam are as leaders of the organization, pillars of the organization, however you want to frame it. But the real question is, how do other people outside of Miami feel about Tyler and Bam and about the assets Miami has as a whole? Because even if it's not Giannis, it's Durant or whoever, are the Heat as well positioned as they believe with their current assets to not get beat by other organizations with probably better assets this summer?
First of all, I think that's the second most important question. The first most important question is, why did you wear a credential when throwing out a first pitch? That's more important.
But he was tagged. He was tagged for some reason.
Yeah, that's a first. That's a first. And you threw a strike, so congrats. No,
almost like when a summer camp goes to Dave and Buster's on a field trip, they don't want to lose any of the kids from a certain class. They put a little tag on them.
A lot on the field.
But he threw high heat though. His pitch looked good.
It was if Hawk's first pitch was 51, yours was 57. So we're good. We're good.
Yeah. I'll take the 51, by the way.
To answer your question, I think Pat has to position it that way because you have to, as an organization, show that your assets are valuable, right? And that you do have flexibility. And I do think to some extent they do. But let's not kid ourselves. We know teams like Houston and Oklahoma City and those young franchises that are growing that have stunk for a long time and are now good and built a lot of assets have more flexibility. Like, that's just the truth. So the bottom line with whatever is available, whether it's KD, Giannis, whatever names we hear this offseason do they want to come to the Miami Heat? Because if the answer is yes, would they consider, then I think the Heat do have the assets. It's just a matter of working with that particular team. But they're not going to out asset a team like OKC or Houston. It's just not possible. They don't have the amount of assets those teams do.
Speaking of what they have or what they don't have, you watched what the Cavs did to the Heat, but now you're watching what the Pacers are doing to the Cavs. So how do you extrapolate it all?
I mean, I extrapolated this, and I think we've talked about it plenty during the season, and we try to be as honest as we can when we talk about the Heat. The Heat are in a tough spot. They are not a bad team, but they're not a really good team. And sometimes being in the middle, hello, Miami Dolphins, is very difficult. You know, sometimes that middle ground is tough to get out of, even more so than sucking. Like when you stink and you have a lottery team and you got a top 5 pick, it's easier to make a quick turn if you get a special player, if you trade that asset for something. The Heat are kind of in the middle, you know. So I don't think that whoever's putting doom and gloom on the Heat, I don't think that's the truth. I think they have 2 young core players and they do have assets, and they have Kellerman Ware, who looked good last year. They have room for growth. The question is, do they have room within the roster for championship growth? And I think if we're being honest, the answer is no. The answer is they need pieces. They need a big dog. They need an alpha, whatever the heck you want to call it. They need another piece, because you can't just lose Jimmy Butler and say, okay, we're cool. We're going to bounce back and be in the final in the next year or two with what we have left over. It's just not that simple.
And Will, one other question we talked about earlier in the show is where Giannis wants to leave, and San Antonio has the first pick or can get the first pick tonight in the lottery. Cooper Flag is going to be the first pick of the NBA draft. Is that an even trade, or is Cooper Flag a Wemby or a LeBron or one of those guys? Is Cooper Flag that good? Because I've watched him play. I watched the NCAA tournament. I don't see him as that. I don't see him as a generational type guy. Do you see Cooper Flag as that generational talent?
I don't, but then again, that's a hard standard, right? Wemby and LeBron are 2 of the most unique talents that the league has ever seen, and LeBron, obviously, one of the top 2 players of all time. Wemby's in course to become an all-time great as he stays healthy. So it's a tough comparison. I will say this: I think Cooper Flag moves the needle. I think wherever he goes, he's going to make that team instantly better and have a legit superstar player that could do a lot of things. I was impressed by him, but I think, to your point, Channing, it's not like you were watching. Like when you saw the film of Wemby, right, and the things he did, you're like, he's nicknamed the alien for a reason. You're like, holy cow, this guy's an alien. And LeBron was a one of one. I think when you look back, okay, look at a Zion Williamson. When he was coming.
That's who. Yeah, that's the guy.
And it helps me.
Zion was better than Cooper Flag, and Zion's
yes,
he's okay.
By no one's fault.
Zion's okay because of health and weight, right? Like if he hasn't been healthy.
Bad organization. It's a bad organization.
He went to a terrible place. That is another thing too. Where do these guys land? Look at Wemby, man. He landed in a great spot. Even though it's happened post Greg Popovich and what happened with him no longer being the coach, it's still a great organization. It's going to be a lot the fit. Like if he goes to a Washington, right? I mean, that's a place where people go to basketball careers go to die. It's like, is that where he's going to go be a superstar and truly change a franchise? Good luck. It's going to be tough. So where he lands is going to be part of it too.
While this was happening, Will, I think you and I were kind of on the same page. The Heat should try to make the playoffs. They already had the first round pick from Golden State, and now this gives them an opportunity to have more first round picks down the line by not conveying their own this year. They made the playoffs, but we can kind of look back and reassess now. They got blown out back-to-back playoff worst losses in franchise history, and the team they lost to are getting embarrassed by the Indiana Pacers. Would it have been better? It's easy to play the result. I realize that, but that's what we're doing now. Would it have been better, especially with the Giannis news, to have 2 tradable first-round picks for this upcoming draft and the Miami Heat participating in today's lottery, even if it was a minute chance to get the number 1 overall pick?
I think in theory, yes, but I think here's why I'm going to say no. Why I'm going to be the contrarian and say no, because I think 2 things happen. Number one is if, again, I go back to the point, if someone like Giannis or someone like that truly becomes available and wants to come to Miami, I think the Heat can find a way to get the assets needed if that's truly what that player wants, right? But I think also is I don't care if Pat Riley says that those last 2 games are indicative of what this team is. I think in that organization, they're looking at those last 2 games and said, we were embarrassed. We got to be better. Like, we got to do this. So if anything, it was a slap in the face of reality of like, you guys are really far away from where the standard of where you want to be is. And that's a championship team. You get swept out and you lose by 50 and 60 points, whatever the heck it was, in those last 2 games. You can't, if that doesn't slap you with reality, I don't know what will. So I still think that what happened was the right course of action. And now I think, if anything, it's adjusted the Heat to see like, hey, we got to do something this offseason and moving forward. Pat did say it may not take just a year. It may take a couple of years, but we have to pivot. We cannot stay what this franchise has been the last couple of years.
And Will, talking about the two young pillars, as Solana's been saying for months now, where I watched that last game against the Cavs and Tyler had 4-1-1. Yeah. I've seen Cavs get blown out and Donovan Mitchell still goes for 28. Like, he's still going to get his are they really those young pillars? Because I just watched Tyler get choked out, and then what was his name? Darius Garland. He slipped up in a press conference and was like, "What do you do offensively?" Oh, we go at Tyler Herro. That's kind of the answer to it. So I know we love them down here, but is it myopic of us to really think that Bam and Tyler are good young pillars for a championship team?
I think they are, but I think they can't be the only pillars, right? I think they have to be someone, and I think we've seen it. The track record with Jimmy was here for 5 years. I asked Pat straight up on the day that he spoke, do you think, they're alphas? Do you think they're a 1A, 1B? Do you think they're the guys you could win with? And he said, now's their chance. But it's a good question, because if a guy becomes available, do we need that superstar? And he kind of conceded in a sense like, yeah, why wouldn't you? Like we saw it with Jimmy. And while he won't come up and say, no, we can't win with these two guys a championship, I think it's pretty clear you need a third wheel. And that third wheel likely needs to be the priority, right? The superstar, because in Pat's words, an alpha's a superstar, an alpha's a leader. I think Bam's a leader on the court. I think Bam's a damn good productive player, one of the top players in the league. And I think Tyler proved he could be an all-star and play a great role in that way. But can they take over games in the biggest moments at the championship level? I don't think so. I don't know if that's there, and that's okay. Like let's be honest, guys, how many guys can in the league? 8, 10 at most? I might be being generous. It might be 5 or 6. So to say that those guys aren't that isn't really an insult. It's just saying you need to do your best if any of those 5, 6, 8 guys becomes available to try to get, because that's what you need to truly be a championship team. We saw it for years. The Heat have never won a championship without a legit superstar, whether it be Dwayne Wade, obviously, LeBron. That's how you Shaq. That's how you win championships. And right now, that caliber of player isn't on this team.
The place where you're being generous is saying, I don't know if they can be those guys, because we do know. We've seen it enough. Like, they can't be those guys. And like you say, I'm with you. There's no shame in that. Like, we need to know. And we did have questions, but I think now we know. Like, you need someone who can do exactly what you said. There's just not a ton of them out there. So you take a swing, and if you can grab them, you can. And if you can't, you're with the rest of the 2/3 of the NBA who don't have that guy. And that's fine. Again, there's ebbs and flows with any franchise and any system. On the other side, you have to be impressed with what the Florida Panthers have done the last couple of games, because it could have gone south real quickly, down 2-0. Now it's 2-2, headed back to Toronto, and you feel good because, man, did they look good last night.
They look like themselves, right? I thought Sam Bennett said it best. He was like, this is the first time this series that we look like the Panthers playoff team, right? Like the team we know we can beat. And watching the game, I mean, we all saw it. They were dominant from start to finish. And the only reason it was a 2-0 game is because Joseph Wall was spectacular. Or if not, that's a 5-0 or 5-1 game. Even if Bob had let one slip, they could have had 5-6 goals last night. Wall was just great. They looked like themselves. They played with energy. They dictated the style. They were tough. They mucked it up when the puck was near the net or around. They didn't let those quick breakaways and those sudden changes affect them the way they did in the first 3 games. They look like the Panthers. And Brad Marchand, go figure, what's today's date? Whatever, May, whatever. If I would have told you, May 12th, I would have told you 3 months ago that the Panthers would have saved their season and started turning things around in the playoffs courtesy of a Brad Marchand overtime goal, you would have thought I was crazy. But that goal in Game 3 flipped the switch on whatever it was going on. This team has figured it out. I think they win the next 2. Regardless, I think they win the series. But I think they have figured out how to play Panther style. And when they do that, I don't think there's a team in the league that can beat them in a 7-game series.
Well, I believe in consequences and repercussions to your actions. Domi getting fined $5,000 for that hit, I don't think that was enough. And if I ever see Max Domi out on the beach, can I call you and we'll jump him? Because that was I feel funny about that one.
Yeah, who needs 100 gorillas? Just me and Channing. Just me and Channing. That's
Will, we can cause some damage, Will. I'm telling you.
You hold him down, I'll hold him down. I mean, everyone tells me this thing, oh, that's hockey. I'm sorry, man. That's not hockey. I get hockey's a rough and tough, but these guys, I would be honestly in the hospital every night if I played the way these guys play. It's incredible what they put up every night. But that was ugly. It was dirty. It was unnecessary. It should have been a suspension. But I will say this, and you know it. The Panthers will back up their guy, because if there's one guy on that team you don't mess around with, it's Sasha Barkov. The respect, who, by the way, is like the nicest human being in the world. If you saw him at Target and he was walking, you would never guess he was a hockey player. He's just the chillest, nicest guy. And yet he's the guy that they will defend to the death because he is their captain for a reason. So I would expect, I don't know if it's retribution or just good old-fashioned, hard-hitting hockey on Wednesday night.
We're giving away every day on this show this week, Will. We are giving away 2 tickets for The Who and their North American farewell tour. Now, do you know when they held their first farewell tour?
I mean, I would have by 1958. I don't know. This seems like the
The 80s. They literally held a farewell tour in the 1980s, and now they're doing it again.
I guess the paycheck. They still.
Yeah. Hey, listen. If call this radio show a farewell tour, if it's going to get us another however many dollars out of it, I'm all for it. You're going to see Billy Idol and Joan Jett tomorrow?
I will be there tomorrow. I'm taking my oldest daughter. We are going to go. Did you end up getting a suite? What are you doing? You just enjoying yourself with tickets, or?
I haven't even bought tickets yet. I haven't decided yet.
You gotta go.
You know who I bought tickets for? I bought tickets last week for David Lee Roth coming to Hard Rock Live, I think in July.
Did you see the viral video of him this weekend in the leather pants?
Yeah, that's why I bought it. It's why I bought the tickets.
Memo to 70-year-old men. Actually, I'm 50. I'm going to say memo to 50-year-old men and above. Don't wear leather pants. Don't wear leather pants.
Listen, I'm going to take that even a step further. Memo to guys who might not be well endowed. I'm talking about me, not David Lee Roth. Most people in my religion, I think David Lee Roth may be an outlier, stay away from the leather pants. All right?
Good
yourself a favor. Stay away from the leather pants.
Show out sometime.
Well, what if you can't show out?
I mean,
we
got to show in.
Show up.
Show in.
Yeah, I can
show in.
All right. We'll see you, Will.
All right.